Hey folks, today's video is going to be a little different. I got some personal stuff going on, so there's not going to be as much visually on the screen, but I'm going to give you the same audio content as always, so thanks for watching, and let's get into this. An interesting piece of news has just come out from the Solo a Star Wars Story set. An actor, an unnamed actor, which they're wise to remain unnamed, has spilled the beans on some of the behind-the-scenes drama, and it's quite interesting. So, this article comes from Vulture.com, and it is titled, Solo a Star Wars Story actor shares new details about the troubled production. Weeks away from its May 25th release and still sight unseen, it's fair to say that Solo a Star Wars Story already arrives as one of the more problem-plagued big-budget movies in recent memory. In June, after completing at least 3/4 of principal photography on the standalone prequel, which traces an early pre-Mos Eisley adventure of Harrison Ford's iconic space smuggler character Han Solo, original co-directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller were fired by Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy over creative differences. Days later, Ron Howard was hired to finish the film. Rumors ricocheted around Hollywood as the script was unworkable, and star Alden Ehrenreich was struggling to nail his impersonation of Ford, compelling some fans to preemptively revolt. Vulture spoke to an actor who worked on Solo for 4 months under the direction of Miller and Lord last year, and beginning in October with Howard, who provided a blow-by-blow. Although not one of the film's marquee stars, this source was in a prime position to observe the director's contrasting on-set modi operandi, and according to his description, the production was divided into 2 distinct chapters, one disorganized and chaotic, the other controlled and efficient. So before I get into that, this is quite interesting on 2 accounts, but it's also questionable on a different account. It's interesting because you get to hear what seems to be an actor behind the scenes telling it like it is. But then again, this could be a PR stunt from Lucasfilm trying to calm the fears because, let's be honest, they're not stupid people. They may have their head up their ass, but they're not stupid. So they know what the general feeling is towards this movie. This is the first Star Wars movie where people wanted to actively fail. That's not a world-class bullshitter's sentence. That is a sentence that's on the lips of people all over the world. So they're probably scared, and they're trying to calm people. Maybe this is a controlled leak, like some of those documents have been in the past. I feel like something like the Sony email hack would definitely give you the most honest answers about what's going on behind the scenes, but this is the best we're going to get. So back to the article. Director drama. Vulture's sources who declined to be identified because they were not authorized to publicly discuss the film at this time felt Lord and Miller were out of their depth, more cut for a light comedy like The Lego Movie or 21 Jump Street, the movies for which the pair earned their reputations for delivering surprise hits, than the kind of big-budget galaxy-questing action that Lucasfilm required. They have a much better track record there than Rian Johnson, because Rian Johnson was ticking all the political ass-kissing boxes, like, he knows how to write strong female characters. Is that really important when directing a movie? Only if you're Lucasfilm. To hear our source tell it, the main difference between the co-director's filmmaking style and Howard's boiled down to efficiency. Where Lord and Miller would typically demand more than 30 takes of a given scene, seemingly unsure of what they wanted other than a delivery, different from the last, Howard got the job done in no more than 2 or 3 takes. Phil and Chris are good directors, but they weren't prepared for Star Wars, says our source. After the 25th take, the actors are looking at each other like, this is getting weird. Lord and Miller seemed a bit out of control. They definitely felt like the pressure was on with this movie. There are so many people on top of you at all times. The first assistant director was really experienced and had to step in to help the directors in a lot of scenes. Joy Feely, a spokesperson for Miller and Lord, say this information is completely inaccurate, but declined to cite specific inaccuracies. She also declined to make the directors available for an interview, which is probably in their contracts, like they're not allowed to talk about this ever again. Howard, on the other hand, has a journeyman's filmography, stretching back to 1984, spanning comedy romance like Splash, biographical dramas like Apollo 13 and so on, and pulpy thrillers like The Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. And he impressed the beleaguered Solo production by working really fast. When he came on and took control, you could feel it, the actor says. He got respect immediately. He's really confident, a really easy guy to work with. I'll give Ron Howard that. He has an incredible filmography, and maybe we don't say it enough on World Class Bullshitters, but he's definitely the type of guy that deserves the respect he would get in Hollywood. The little Opie from the Andy Griffith Show, who went on to be Richie Cunningham, is now an award-winning director, a true powerhouse. So it's a cool journey. But he's also in with these people, so maybe he's able to do their bidding and toe the company line. But we'll see in a few weeks. Howard certainly needed to work fast, according to our insider. The director reshot a majority of Solo at London's Pinewood Studios and is now in post-production on the Disney studio lot in Burbank. Howard has been cagey about the how much is his and how much is theirs aspect of the film and has stoked fan fascination. Of course, Phil and Chris's fingerprints are all over the movie, given how much they put into it and the time they put into it, he recently told Entertainment Weekly. Speaking at the GLAS Animation Festival in Berkeley, California, on Friday, Miller and Lord revealed they had elected not to contest Howard for the directed by credit on Solo. We were really proud of the many contributions made on that film, Miller said from the podium. In light of the creative differences, we elected to take an executive producer credit. At Vulture Fest in November, Lord addressed the dismissal by saying, I think in terms of us leaving the project, I think everyone went in with good intentions and our approach to making the movie was different than theirs. That was a really big gap to bridge, and it proved to be too big. Quick detour. So, why is Rian Johnson's weird approach to Star Wars praised while theirs is not? I really do think there's this weird agenda going on at Lucasfilm. And Lord and Miller movies aren't into that. They have well-written males, they have well-written females, but it's not about the white British brunettes that they're trying to promote. They're not really worried about that aspect of Star Wars. I think they wanted to make a Han Solo movie. And I think what we're going to get is a... What's her name? Not Natalie Portman, because she was in the prequels. And not Keira Knightley, because she was in the prequels. Her name's Kira in the film. Kira, Q-U-I-R-A, or some crap like that. The chick from Game of Thrones. It's probably her story, and Han Solo's along for the ride. I don't like that. I really don't like the idea of this movie being made in general, but above all else, if it's not his story, then why should I care? I don't know what Harrison Ford did to Kathleen Kennedy. I don't know what the fictional character of Han Solo did to Kathleen Kennedy. All I know is that she's got it out for him. She's had it out for him, and Luke, and all the other guys in these movies. They are all portrayed poorly. If they would have portrayed a woman like this in one of these movies, they'd be up in arms and they'd be apologizing every 5 seconds. But because it's not trendy to worry about these historic characters' portrayal in film, well, we're just going to gloss them over. They learned it the hard way with Carrie Fisher. She's not around anymore to talk about Star Wars or be in the films. But you really took away an asset in Mark Hamill with Luke Skywalker's death in The Last Jedi. You had a stupid, stupid death and a stupid portrayal of his character. After what The Force Awakens was, you could have really brought back a lot of faith in the franchise that was lost in The Force Awakens on the back of Mark Hamill. He wanted to be there. He wanted Luke to go out on these adventures. We wanted Luke to go out on these adventures. But we didn't. He was a curmudgeonly old man who just bitched the whole movie and then died because the Force was too much for him. I apologize for this little side tangent, but it really is relevant to see the... To me, that is a better descriptor of like the curtain being pulled back at Lucasfilm. They're worried about certain things. If you notice, all the Disney films, all the Disney Star Wars movies have a very similar looking female lead, a white brunette with a British accent. Then in this new Star Wars Battlefront game, they have a woman that looks just like that too. And now in the Han Solo movie, we have Amelia Clark is her name, and we have another one like that. It's kind of tiresome at this point. There are going to be 4 Star Wars movies like that, where you have this specific type of thing. It'll be refreshing when there's a dude in charge as the lead of a Star Wars movie that's not meant to look like an idiot, especially John Boyega or Oscar. John Boyega's a stereotype character. He's a black stereotype. I hate to say it. He's after the white woman and the Asian. Coincidence? And then Poe Dameron's just emasculated. And then Kylo Ren's not even a threatening villain. So why do we think they're going to do anything different with Solo, a Star Wars story? They're going to make Han Solo an inept buffoon who thinks he's cool, but he's not. And he's going to be the butt of every joke. We already know this. People are going to say, but Jeff, you haven't seen the movie. Yeah, neither have you. But we've seen the track record of Lucasfilm. And we know the drama. And we know what's going to really go down on May 25th. What's going to go down on May 25th is the lowest grossing domestic Star Wars film in history. This thing will get pulled from China quicker than The Last Jedi. This thing is just going to be a blemish on Star Wars. And I know you're thinking, oh, but the prequels were the blemish. The prequels didn't make Obi-Wan Kenobi any less of a character. They actually made him really awesome. As a kid, I always thought he was just some old man. Now, when I watch Star Wars, I think he's this great Jedi on his final journey. And it adds a lot of depth. We didn't get that with any of the old legacy characters. And why are we going to get that with Han Solo as a young guy? He's, like I said, he's just going to be made to be an idiot. I'm going to skip ahead in the article, but the link will be in the description. So, back to the article. The issues with Alden. Although Vulture's source never saw Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy openly quarreling with Lord and Miller, it became obvious their find-it-in-the-editing-bay shooting style didn't align with the studio's vision just a month into production. In addition to shooting dozens of takes which slowed the pace of filming, the two failed to compel the desired performance from their leading man. In March 2017, the studio took the nearly unprecedented move of hiring an acting coach to help star Alden Ehrenreich, I can never get his name right, to more convincingly channel his Ford swashbuckling effect in the original 3 Star Wars movies. Trying to mimic Harrison Ford is really tough, our source says. Lucasfilm wanted something very specific, copying someone else. Alden's not a bad actor, just not good enough. Okay, so it's nice that they want him to talk and act like Han Solo, but are they going to let him interact like Han Solo would? Because every time Han would say something and Leia would shoot him down, he always had something to volley back at her. That's not allowed in modern movie making. Like, guys have to just be shit on and deal with it, so whatever. Having an on-set acting instructor may have assailed Ehrenreich's sense of pride, but it almost immediately made an impact on his line delivery. You could see his acting become more relaxed. He became more Harrison-like, our source says. The coach helped. Bad news travels fast. With the production almost finished last summer, many of Solo's non-marquee actors were shocked to discover that Lord and Miller had been fired the way everyone else did, via online reports. So on to the end of the film quality. So are the reshoots quantitatively making Solo a better movie? The actor says morale in the production improved by leaps and bounds with Howard's arrival, but points out it's impossible to measure the quality without seeing the final cut. He also points out the financial underperformance of the last Star Wars installment, which fell $200 million short of analysis predictions, according to the Wall Street Journal, has incentivized the studio to make the Force strong with this one. They have to make Solo good after The Last Jedi didn't make as much money as expected. If they want to keep making Star Wars movies, it has to be good. Okay, that last paragraph really gave me hope. For the first time in this reading, you're going to hear me be hopeful, because if this guy's an insider, now we know that it's a guy thanks to the article, but they know that The Last Jedi underperformed and that they're going to have to put their best foot forward, and you'd think that they have to put this SJW trash to the side. Some older people are up in arms about the phrase SJW. Well, let's be honest, it's an ironic phrase. Social justice warriors are just people you poke fun at for their weird takes on progressivism. No one ever says equality is bad, but the way they go about it is terrible. And The Last Jedi is just an SJW's wet dream. You have a purple-haired feminazi. You have the woman with no experience overtake the experienced veteran male, which, let's be honest, she beat him in the first movie. It's not really... Oh my god, there is nothing to look forward to in that next one. But this one, in the back of their minds, they know they have to really clean their shit up. And you can't emasculate Han Solo and get that performance. Because, let's break it down for a minute. Star Wars has always been targeted towards the male demographic. Women like it. Millions of women like it. But not every woman's going to like it. Just like every male's not going to like Star Wars. Every man doesn't like sports. I don't like sports. But women like sports, and women don't like sports. So, there's already a pre-installed audience. But let's think about something that is strongly male. Action figure collecting. Or just toys in general like that. Little boys grow up on action figures. You get action figures based off of things you like, things that you find cool and exciting. If I look at my personal collection, you're going to see, well, if I look at it, what I'll see, but if you look at it, what you'll see you'll see The Rock, you'll see Batman, you'll see Spider-Man, you'll see Harrison Ford characters like Indiana Jones and Han Solo, you'll see the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you'll see things that have a certain cool factor to them. Things based on characters that have traits or qualities that you can look to and be either inspired by or just find them to be flat out cool. I love Batman. Do I really want to have his madness, his drive towards defeating crime and all that? No, he's a rich guy with cool gadgets and an awesome car, and he fights bad guys and gets the girl. That's the cool aspect of Batman. With Disney Star Wars movies, your merchandise doesn't sell because you can't give a little boy that experience. And these people that want to argue, oh, they've had this, they've had that. It's not about what you've done. It's about what you're going to do. What have you done lately? And for the last 3 years and change, Disney has allowed basically what's tantamount to just like bashing men in Star Wars movies, which is dumb because men make up most of your audience. Yes, 50% of the world's population are women, but not that entire population are Star Wars fans. It's a much smaller percentage. So they really need to take that into account. They need to ditch any kind of agenda. They need to ditch any kind of emasculation. They need to ditch any kind of buffoonery in the character of Han Solo. Is he this perfect character? No, but he does have the cool factor. And when he's made to look dumb or somebody says something different, he's got a snappy comeback like that. Now they'll try to use the excuse, oh, this is how he became Han Solo. It doesn't matter how he became Han Solo. It's about what's in this movie. Nobody's wanting to watch a movie where he's a little kid, poor, or whatever. You want to see the cool factor. It worked for Batman Begins because you got to see how he became Batman through a traumatic event. Because the thing is, Batman is a much more extreme case of a dual identity situation. Han Solo is just a cool guy. It doesn't really work in James Bond movies where they have to break down why he's the way he is. It worked better when you didn't know why he was just a cool guy. And that's why those movies appeal to women, because they look at those features and go, oh, that's the kind of guy I'd like to be with, and the guys are like, that's the kind of guy I'd like to be. And that's why those characters and those films stick around forever. Same thing with Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Those characters have stuck around forever because boys, men, and women of every generation can look to those characters and see cool. They can see traits they'd like to have inside themselves. And they support that by continuing their fandom, continuing supporting the brand, buying the merchandise, buying the Blu-rays, and all this other shit. And Disney Star Wars doesn't give you that. Doesn't give little boys that. You know, little boys why would you want to buy a Rose Tico figure? She's fucking stupid. She's potato sack Tico. She wears a yellow trash bag and whines and moans and bitches the entire film. Why would a little boy want Rey? She doesn't really do anything. She just kind of sits and whines and moans and bitches the whole movie. Why would you want to buy a Kylo Ren figure? He gets beat every time. Darth Vader, in the first 2 films, smoked everybody. He beat Obi-Wan. He killed people on the Tantive 4. In Empire, he killed his own crew. He cut off Luke's hand. He was a cool, intimidating bad guy. We don't have that. We need a cool character to sell merchandise, and we need Han Solo to be the Han Solo we all know. Tell you this, he doesn't look like him, but Chris Pratt has that personality. If this was Chris Pratt with a different haircut and not that shitty Star-Lord mustache, I'd be really excited for this movie, because he doesn't look like Harrison Ford at all. But he has the swagger, and I hate using that phrase, but it's very apropos. It works here. You gotta have that Han Solo swagger. Very few guys in movies have that today. Alden Ehrenreich was good enough in Hail Caesar for what he was, but we'll find out in 2 months, actually less than 2 months, a month and 30 days, for Solo: A Star Wars Story. So, I'm sorry I'm rambling, but today's been a real shit day, so this is all I was able to put out. But tomorrow, I might be back with part 3 of Retro Blasting, or I could just, connect with Ethan Van Sciver. I could maybe get together with him for a live stream or something like that. So, I don't know. You really want to hear me talk about Solo more, or would you rather me connect with a DC comic book superstar and give you guys something awesome? Because it's going to be awesome. Because it's actually happening. No more beating around the bush. That's what's going to be next. Retro Blasting Part 3 will be out at the end of the week. And you know what? Don't discredit that one either, because Michael's awesome, and Part 1 and 2 are incredible, and Part 3 closes us out. And it looks like you guys really want him back. So, thank you for watching today's video. If you're a fan of World Clash Bullshitters, wrote that fucking shitty app. But if you're a fan of World Class Bullshitters, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, share it, tell everyone about us. We're really growing. We're getting all kinds of fans on every level from every walk of life, and we really and greatly, that's what I tried to say, appreciate it. If you're a super fan, check out our Patreon page for $1 a month. You get access to all kinds of great content. Or you could join at the $5 a month level, which is like 17 cents a day, and get access to everything, plus a little more. We already have the entire Retro Blasting conversation over there. The rest of the James Bond commentaries have been released thus far. All kinds of great shit. And World Class Bullshitters After Hours goes there. So when you're done hanging out and listening to the podcast, go on over to the Patreon page and get Part 2, the After Party, the more raw and uncut, less produced World Class Bullshitters. So if you're a fan of us, that is the best way to get everything we do. I'll be back with my Ethan Van Sciver video, which is going to be awesome because we have something super cool planned for you guys. And be good to each other.